Hey everyone, welcome to this video on how to be ready for anything like Eichel. Now, if you're like me and you've missed embarrassing one-timers and just not been ready for surefire tap-ins, well then this is for you. Or if you find that you have trouble with one-timers, or you're just not ready for passes, or you're just not ready for a puck to land on your stick because you're off balance, or you're pushing or something, then this 6-week course is for you, because let me tell you, I was that player. But that all came from a full misunderstanding of what a ready position is in hockey. And I don't think anyone has talked about this. I don't think anyone has talked about what a ready stance actually is in hockey, but that changes today. This will change your life, because guess what? The ready stance does not require any additional skill. The ready stance, all it requires is that you use it. And most people don't use it because they don't know about it. But some players do. They do it naturally. They find it naturally. And of course, those are the naturals. Those are those mechanics masters that we idolize and research and reverse engineer. And Eichel is one of those masters. And we're going to be looking at what he does today and over the next 6 weeks, over this 6-week, how to be ready for anything like Eichel. And week we're going to uncover the hockey ready stance, which will blow your mind because it's the literal opposite of anything else that's out there. And will unlock new levels of performance without doing anything fancy. It's like the simplest thing ever that will unlock massive new levels of performance for you. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about how that leads to unlocking rotation. Then we're going to talk about how you translate the hockey ready stance from striding or to striding and lunging. Then we'll talk about the anchor release, how some of the best players are using the anchor to score goals from a hockey ready stance. And then week 5, we'll talk about the effortless chop and release that scores goals in ways that you don't think they should, but is so simple to learn. But again, it's not something that's taught. So most people don't ever learn it, so they do it. Well, I'm going to show you what that is in week 5. And then week 6 is all about mindset and positioning, because when you start to use the hockey ready stance, your mindset shifts from being a grinder to a goal scorer. And how do you deal with that shift? Well, we'll talk about that in week 6. Without further ado, let's get into the hockey ready stance. The first thing to note is that it's different than most sports. I've got here a really athletic looking model, and what you can see here is this is like your typical ready stance, right? So you can see, on the toes, toes facing forward, chest lean kind of forward, good shin angle on this guy, but on the toes, right? And you always hear that, right? This is like your typical athletic ready stance that you see. Now the hockey ready stance is literally the opposite. It's actually toes internally rotated, chest a bit more up, and you actually have the toes up because all the weight is to the heels. We still have shin angle, by the way, but our chest is a little bit more up. This is the opposite of how most people say to be in a ready stance, right? They're like, on your toes, right? Toes forward, because they think that you're going to push from this stance. But in hockey, you're on ice and rotation is everything. So when you're on your heels and you have shin angle, as in this stance, and I'll show you this live on the ice in a second, but I'm showing this to you in pictures so that you can practice this off ice. And when you're in this position, the heels and shin angle, it enables rotation, right? And so when it enables rotation, well, guess what? Shots and strides, when done with mechanical advantage, are rotations, right? We talk about McDavid and McKinnon using rotations for their strides. And we talk about some of the best shooters using their rotation for the shots. When you have the hockey ready stance, when you're in the hockey ready stance, you actually enable and set up that rotation. And the regular sport ready stance does not, right? If you use it in hockey. Now, if you use it in other sports, then maybe, but if you use it in hockey, then it doesn't enable rotation. So you don't want to use it. Now, the other thing to note is that this is a narrower stance than a double wide corkscrew. Double wide corkscrew, we use that for a couple of reasons. One is for puck protection. Another is for blending between the stride and the corkscrew, right? This is different. This is the hockey ready stance. It's not something we've talked about in downhill skating system before, and I don't think anyone's talked about it. So you're really getting an inside edge here. No pun intended, because you're strictly on your inside edges in this. Let's take a look at Eichel using this. On the left here, you have Eichel setting up for a shot. And what you can see is exactly that. You can see that Eichel is internally rotating those toes prior to a shot. And then what that does is it enables him to spread his legs and rotate really, really well. Isn't that beautiful? You don't normally see this level of detail, right? Which is that little internal rotation. And so what does this look like in a game? We'll take a look. So we got Eichel in a lunge. He's giving a pass, but watch him reset into this hockey ready stance right there. Internal rotation, and that allows him to adjust his stance into a rotation and score that goal. Here's what it actually looks like on the ice. You're cruising around and you're just having a nice little narrow corkscrew, but what you want is you want your weight to your heels. And so you can actually see here we've got that internal rotation. We're a bit narrower than in most corkscrews. The weight is to the heels and we have good shin angle. So those are all things that we're looking for. We can see it in the rotation here. Same thing, even going backwards. This is something you want to have as well, is you also want to have the internal toe rotation, right? And you can see shin angle. We've got that knee over toe and then weight to the heel. There's a little adjustment there. One thing that you're going to want to do this week, like how you're going to actually want to practice this, is you're going to want to practice first this off ice. You're going to want to practice that off ice, just stance, what that feels like, and then you're going to aim to do this on the ice. And you can just do this in warm up.